Draymond, the naked handoff. The lob to Kuminga! Draymond's naked handoff. Pays off again.
The Golden State Warriors are going through a rough stretch. Between the core that brought the years of the dynasty to the franchise, the newly acquired vets, the young players who've struggled to get playing time, and coaching, there's been more than enough blame to go around. Through all the noise and the chaos, however, there is one bright spot in Golden State that isn't getting nearly as much acknowledgement as it should. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Switch Culture. This season is the year of the league for the 2021 draft picks, and being a lottery pick from that draft, there are certain expectations on Moses Moody being one of its better players. The problem with that is, all of the top players from this draft class are playing in their team's starting lineup. Of the 13 players drafted ahead of Moody, the only players not in the starting lineup starts with the 7th overall pick, his teammate, Jonathan Kuminga. 9th overall pick, Davion Mitchell, who was never expected to be a starting level player. 10th pick, Zaire Williams, who's getting the minutes, but hasn't been giving enough production in return. Bouknight at 11th, who's been hindered by injuries. Chris Duarte, who started off great in Indiana, but who hasn't shown much development after being traded to the Kings, one of the better teams in the Western Conference. And lastly, Joshua Primo, who exposed himself. Literally. Now arguably the championship core trio of Steph, Clay, and Dre make it rather difficult for Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga to get into the starting lineup, but considering the losses so far this season, this approach doesn't actually seem to be helping anyone. Not the reputation of the championship team, not the reputation of Steve Kerr, definitely neither Kuminga or Moody, and most certainly not the franchise. So what gives? How do we justify what the Warriors are doing, and why is it so difficult to get these young players into the starting lineup? I'll be discussing this and more in today's video, so before I get into it, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Switch Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content. So without further delay, let's get to it. The truth of the matter is that in order for these players to be considered to be at or near the top, at minimum they need playing time. All of the top lottery picks went to teams that had no choice but to give them this playing time. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner, to name a few. Jalen Suggs actually struggled out of the gate, and it looked as if the Magic might have made a mistake when they drafted him 5th overall. Fortunately for him, they stuck with it and let him work through his issues, and now he's improved. Alongside Wagner and led by Banchero, they've propelled the Magic to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. So why is a championship team like the Golden State Warriors struggling when they've got 2 lottery picks in what seems to be a fairly stacked draft class? This is an issue that affects both Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. While at times many discredit Jonathan Kuminga due to his apparent lack of consistency, a criticism I believe to be unwarranted but will address in a different video, it's not quite the same for Moses Moody, who dropped 21 points in the Warriors' loss against the Clippers. Unlike most young players, Moses Moody for the most part plays within control and has stayed ready whenever he's called upon. Most times, despite this readiness, he's been relegated to limited playing time and sometimes out of the rotation altogether. It's gotten to the point where Steve Kerr was losing sleep over the fact that he pulled Moses Moody out of a game that more than likely directly led to the Warriors losing that game. For additional perspective, Moses Moody was having the best stretch of his career. During the Warriors-Kings matchup, Golden State had been up for the entirety of the game, at one point leading the Kings by 24 points. Down the stretch, however, the Kings had come storming back. If this next sequence of events doesn't make you pick your jaw up off the floor, it'll most definitely make your head spin. It's the last 12 minutes of the game and the beginning of the 4th quarter. The Warriors were up 104-95. Now a 9-point lead isn't safe, but a win here only requires that the coach stay out of the way and allow a competent group of players to finish the quarter. Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green were chosen to start the quarter. The game gets underway and Moody hits the first bucket of the quarter, a dunk at the 11:35 minute mark. Sasha Vezenkov responds with a 3 15 seconds later. The next 2 buckets go to the Kings, followed by a trip to the free throw line for Sabonis, bringing the scores to 107 to 105, a single possession game. Moody again responds with a triple. Trey Lyles, Malik Monk, and Fox all made baskets to take the Kings up 1 with 5:34 to go in the fourth quarter. Moses Moody hits a triple and Sasha Vezenkov responds with one of his own. Moody goes back-to-back, another triple. The Warriors are up 2. With 4.5 minutes left to go, the unthinkable happens. Now before I say what happens, between the 9-minute 46-second mark in the fourth quarter and the 3-minute and 40-second mark, a whole 6 minutes and 9 seconds of game time, the only player that made any points for the Golden State Warriors was Moses Moody. Let me take it a step further. The entire fourth quarter, up to the 3-minute and 40-second mark, 8 minutes and 20 seconds of gameplay, the only player for the Warriors to make a field goal was Moses Moody. The unthinkable thing that happens at the 4:26 mark, Steve Kerr takes Moses Moody, the only player that scored any field goals in the fourth quarter up to that point, out of the game, never to see the floor for the rest of the night. Throughout the quarter, Steve Kerr had made a few adjustments. Saric came in the game for Klay Thompson so he could rest, but Looney was subbed in at the 9-minute mark after Dre got hit with the tech. Klay Thompson came back in soon after for Wiggins, and Corey Joseph provided relief for Steph Curry at the 6:43 mark. Again, none of these moves led to any scoring outside of Moses Moody. There was no doubt about it. It was clearly Moody's game, and the Warriors needed him to take the team home. But Steve Kerr had other plans, and had Wiggins enter the game for Moody. Moses Moody finished the night with 11 points on 4 for 4 from the field and 3 for 3 from distance. The Warriors had their secret weapon, everything they needed to pull out a win against the Sacramento Kings in a must-win game, and the Warriors coach pulled out the only scorer that the team had on the floor. Now, while this is one extreme example, what this highlights is the problem both Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga faced when it comes to their development and getting minutes on the floor and actually learning to correct their mistakes. If Moses Moody, being the best player on the floor above and beyond Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and everyone else on the opposing team over that particular stretch, is unable to get well-deserved minutes to close the game, how can these players reasonably expect to develop into the players we're seeing on the Pistons, Raptors, Magic, and the Cavaliers? The truth is, those players that are currently thriving would be doing no better than Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga had they instead been selected to play for the Warriors. Moody has been showing these flashes ever since his rookie season, where in Santa Cruz he would go to the G League and drop multiple 37-point games, only to end up playing sparse minutes off the bench with Golden State. For all the minutes that Steve Kerr played Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb, only to end the season going 11-30 on away games. For the marginal improvement he might have gotten with those veteran players, Moses Moody could have and would have been everything the team needed off the bench as the sixth man, along with Jonathan Kuminga, both of whom could be playing pivotal roles this season, performing as well as, if not better than, many of the 2021 NBA top draft picks. These draft picks have been able to play through good nights to maximize their impact, and on bad nights to learn from their mistakes. They never had to play with the fear of falling out of the rotation. They never had to worry whether or not they were playing at a championship level, which is what was necessary to get consistent minutes at Golden State. All of this is what gave the top players in the 2021 draft class the identities they have today. Unfortunately, that is not the case for Eminem and JK, as both players are stuck somewhere between where they were projected to be and included in mock trades because they were not developed. They're being called out for being busts because the team that drafted them never invested in them in typical lottery pick fashion. There's no substitute for on-court experience, and this goes back to the reason I myself, nor any of us not competing in the league, couldn't go into the NBA off the street and compete against these players. We simply don't have nearly enough of the right experience to compete at the highest level under the immense pressure that these guys do every night. For the reasons I have mentioned, Moses Moody along with JK are not considered to be members of the top players in the 21 draft class and are seen as pieces not good enough to complement the Warriors starting lineup in their bid for another championship, the same lineup that gave up a lead to the Kings in the last 4 minutes and currently own a 9-11 record. If this doesn't scream emergency, I'm not sure what does. In another 20 or so games, The Warriors will have formed their identity as a team, and there are some major issues to resolve in that time frame, not with any complementary piece, but with whether or not this team will really place their championship hopes on two players that have not shown at any point this season that they're capable of taking over and being the first option if Steph Curry is not on the floor. The business side says, look for available replacement pieces at the deadline to maximize Steph Curry's window. However, the emotional side will say, keep the current players and wait till the offseason to make a move. Another option yet is to inject the young players into the starting lineup and go for a better record, because their current performance dictates nothing more than a play-in capable team. As long as you play your best players, the Warriors will have their best chances of winning. My prediction is that the franchise will ride with Wiggins and Klay for the rest of the year in the same manner, despite the obvious fall-off, and the team will live with the results, further hindering the development of the Warriors' young players. They are not seen as championship pieces currently, meanwhile the starting five are seen as such. For the most part, I understand Steve's thinking, but his decisions regarding not playing the young players have raised a lot of questions. The Warriors with Steph Curry are a championship or bust team, and without the top five, as far as Curry is concerned, they're not contending for a championship. This would mean the end of the Steph Curry era. The front office will have to either sign better players to put around Steph Curry and Draymond Green, or deal with a team that won't make the playoffs until the team is completely rebuilt. Let me know if you agree with Steve Kerr pulling Moody in the last 4 minutes of that fourth quarter. Should the Dubs go all in with the vets, or should they bet on the young players meshing with the starting unit to give the team their best chance of competing this year? Anything else would blow up the team. Post your thoughts in the comments below. Before that though, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish.